Welcome to the START podcast, Somatic Tools for Alignment, Regulation, and Transformation. I'm your host, Jessa Hooley. This episode is recorded as part of START, a free somatic healing program for people with painful childhoods. Join START to get access to this podcast along with exclusive monthly on-demand classes led by me, a somatic trauma specialist. If you're ready to create a life of calm, confidence, and belonging, join START by visiting alwaysvibin.com or search Vibin Wellness in your Apple or Google Play App Store. That's always VIBIN.com. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today is our second episode for this month's theme for those who never feel settled. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, I would really strongly encourage you to start there. We went over the theme. I introduced a concept called hypervigilance and explained how it shows up in our lives. I gave it a really casual categorization system that I like to use, where we divided hypervigilance into 3 different categories. The first is jumpy hypervigilance. Second is are you mad at me hypervigilance, and the third one is embodied hypervigilance. Today we're going to be working with the are you mad at me hypervigilance, what you can also call relational hypervigilance. But before we get into the content, which today we're going to be discussing how this shows up in your relationships, what kind of foundational beliefs are attributing to this pattern and behavior. And then finally, some really practical ways of working with this so that you can feel more settled in your relationships and let go of that hypervigilant tendency. Before we start though, first, as with all trauma work, this episode is speaking to things that you may have a very tender relationship with, which means it could bring up some difficult sensations. At any time you feel overwhelmed or uneasy, I would invite you to pause and take a break. We heal when our nervous systems and our bodies feel safe to do so. And in order to really soak in all the wisdom, soak in all the lessons, and repattern our behaviors, we bring in that safety by maximizing our comfort while we are learning. Secondly, I'm not a relationship coach. Thankfully, that's not what this episode is about. So I'm not going to be offering tips on how to fix relationships or things like that. While we're working with relational hypervigilance, we're going to be taking it into the perspective of your experience, your internal bodily somatic experience of hypervigilance in your relationships. And finally, as much as I would love to believe that everyone who had a traumatic childhood grew up and just fell into beautiful, loving, stable, predictable relationships, it's just not the case. In fact, statistically, those who grew up with a traumatic childhood are at greater risk of problematic, combative, abusive, dangerous relationships later into adulthood, particularly in their romantic relationships. So, if you are currently in a situation where you are in relationship with someone who's dangerous, the things that we're talking about in this episode are not going to be applied to that relationship. And this is very important. Because if you're living with someone or interacting, maybe a colleague or a friend, if you're consistently interacting with someone that is signaling danger to you, it is an appropriate and healthy and protective response for your body to remain hypervigilant with this person. We talked about this last week. So it would be pushing against your instinct, your nature to protect yourself, to try and undo patterns that are currently keeping you safe. This is where the nuance of trauma work really comes in, because it would be inappropriate to say that all of the things I'm going to talk about here are going to be helpful for all of the relationships. However, this episode is still for you. You still have relationships outside of the toxic ones. Whenever we are in relationship with any other person, whether it's the person at the counter checking us out from the grocery store, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, a distant relation, a neighbor, we are always interacting with other people. So you can still take this episode, all the stuff I'm going to offer in today's episode, and use it to help you find more stability by applying it where it is relevant, which is with fairly predictable, fairly stable individuals. So don't give up hope. Seek the resources you need to find more stability in your dangerous relationships and apply this where it will be the most helpful for you. So let's get into it. Relational hypervigilance, or what I lovingly nicknamed Are You Mad at Me hypervigilance. Let's first talk about some examples. So we mentioned before, hypervigilance is this experience of, I'm never quite sure if I'm okay. I need to just check around every little corner in a metaphoric way to figure out, is there something I'm not noticing that is a danger to me? When we're talking about this in terms of relationships, this could be your partner has been going through a stressful time at work and you keep asking them if they're okay. Second one, your friend is quieter than usual and you assume or worry that they're mad at you. I mean, they must be mad at me, right? Why would they be so quiet? What did I do? Third, overanalyzing the body language of others and making assumptions with little information. Oof, this can be so challenging because it's really a subconscious thing where maybe you're on a Zoom call. Maybe while I've been on this podcast with you, if you're watching it on video, you've noticed my eyes flickering down to my notes. And maybe you're making assumptions about how I'm feeling just by observing my body language. This kind of experience it's really a zoomed in lens. You notice when someone keeps checking their phone. You notice the crinkle in their eyebrow. And it's not, an amount where you notice it and it's just a thing to notice, but you're also assigning judgment to it. They must be feeling this way. I'm going to create some sort of certainty in me that they must be feeling this way because I'm picking up on these little cues. The last example, you interrupt people often when they are talking. You're trying to complete their sentences or make it clear that you understand what they're saying. Very common pattern when you're experiencing hypervigilance, trying to figure things out before they get dangerous. So why does this happen or develop? We're going to go through 4 reasons this happens. This is by no means a complete list, but it's the 4 we're going to work with. We're going to go over what kind of beliefs these experiences bring about in ourselves, and then how that shows up and what we can do about it. So we're going to be working with these 4 things throughout the remainder of this session/episode. The first thing that can happen in our childhood that develops into hypervigilance. This is when our caregivers make us responsible for their feelings. Oof. So this is a very emotionally immature caregiver. And I use the term caregivers because first, not all of us are raised by our parents. Second, we may have other adults in our life that are also significant attributors to our development. We might have cousins or aunts or uncles, grandparents, neighbors that watch us. We might be brought up with childcare, and we're with teachers a significant amount of time as we're children. So all of these adults in our life, I don't want you to zero too close in on parents, although that is a big one. There are a lot of relationships that we have with adults as children that can really feed into this experience. And when these adults have really low emotional intelligence or are really immature emotionally, they can make us responsible for their feelings. And so this can look like, why did you make me mad? You are making me yell at you. I wouldn't have yelled if you didn't, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't have blank if you didn't blank. I'm upset because you. So it's a direct because of you. When this happens, we struggle to individuate our feelings from others. A child who has a caregiver that makes them responsible for their feelings now embodies their caregiver's feelings. It's our feelings. So the child struggles to see their experience as theirs and the adult's experience as the adult's. Over time, we feel like we become responsible for the feelings of others in general. And the behavior of others becomes, in our embodied experience, a direct result of our behavior. The way other people treat me is because of me. So if I'm being treated unwell, it's because I deserved it for doing this thing. If I'm being treated well, it's because I earned it by doing this thing. The second reason this could show up: hot and cold caregivers. This one always gives me kind of a chill up my spine because it's very familiar to me. A hot and cold caregiver is someone where you just don't know how today is going to go. So they're not reliably a painful caregiver. They're not always blaming everything on you. They're not always someone that you're scared to be around. It's like a lottery. You don't know when you're pulling the handle whether this person is going to be the nice person or the scary person. You're unsure if today is going to be a good day or a bad day, and the stakes are really high. It's usually either, when we say hot and cold, notice that it's hot or cold, not really a middle ground. So-so days are very rare with this person. It's either a bad day or a great day. This also includes their presence. So it's not just, are they going to physically harm me or berate me, or are they going to praise me? It can also be, are they actually going to be here? Are they actually going to show up and give me my basic needs? Am I going to be provided my meal, or am I going to be left alone to figure it out? And so sometimes their presence is fully there, fully attentive, number one caregiver, or completely absent. They're completely checked out and unable to provide you any of their presence. The third example of how this can develop: you had to calculate safety as a child. So we get our basic needs met by calculating how to ask, when to ask, in what situations, things like that. So a lot of children with unpredictable caregivers really learn for their needs of survival, they learn how to read their parent or caregiver. They learn how to understand, okay, when I see these signals, that's when I know it's not safe to ask for something. When I can influence certain signals to show up, then I can get myself into a place where I can ask for certain needs to be met. It's really this mental exercise of, I've got to figure out how to map this terrain with this person so that I get my basic needs met. And the last one we're going to talk about is the experience as a child of being manipulated by the parent. So in the third one, we're talking about how the child strives to manipulate in a survival sort of tendency, try to calculate, figure out this parent so they can get their basic needs met. In this one, we're talking about the experience of being manipulated. The child knows that the parent is working to get something from the child consistently. And this teaches you as a child that you get behaviors from people by manipulating them, just like they did to you. And all of these experiences help certain embodied beliefs arise in us that we operate from consistently. So the first one, when a caregiver makes us responsible for their feelings, this results into an embodied belief that How others express their feelings is a result of my actions. How others express their feelings is a result of my actions. The second one, experiencing a hot and cold caregiver, turns into I don't need to fear people's unpredictability if I can see the signs sooner. I don't need to fear unpredictability if I can see the signs sooner. Children that had to consistently calculate their safety developed the belief that the only way to guarantee my safety is if I can calculate the interactions of our relationship. The only way I can guarantee my safety is if I calculate the interactions of our relationship. And then finally, those who were consistently manipulated by their parents or caregivers. I'm capable of making someone act how I need them to. I am capable of making someone else act how I need them to. And all of these show up in embodied patterns of behavior. This is the expression of hypervigilance. Now we've gone from the core of what happened, what belief it turned into, and now it's expressed in hypervigilance in these ways. So the first one, how others express their feelings is a result of my actions. This is expressed in self-blame, shame, guilt, or worry when difficult emotions are expressed by others. It's the experience of always asking, whether it's up here or in here, always asking, what did I do wrong? Are you mad at me? That's where the are you mad at me hypervigilance comes from. Are you mad at me? Are we okay? It's always, what did I do? What did I do? It's that kind of energy, that self-blame of, I must have done something to deserve this. Always worrying. I might have missed something. I might have caused this. What did I do? Did I say the wrong thing? Did they understand what I meant when I say that? So on and so on. The second one, I don't need to fear people's unpredictability if I can see the signs sooner. Because remember, that hot and cold caregiver, there was no predictability. It's very unsettling. So seeking those signs sooner, trying to understand what's happening so that we can predict the future better. This turns into hyper-awareness of body language. An increased tension in our body. This is, you're unsure how this person is going to react. And even by me saying that, you might feel that. What does it feel like when you're unsure how someone's going to act? I feel my core getting tighter, my shoulders kind of going up. There's a bracing because you really don't know. Is this going to be okay or not okay? I need to be prepared just in case. So in this way of bracing, holding that tension, we're trying to create predictability. Evaluating that body language, we're making meaning from things or extrapolating meaning that isn't really there necessarily. We're making assumptions. We feel edgy, irritable, and have that increased tension because you just don't know. You can hear that, feel that in my voice. The third one, the only way to guarantee my safety is if I can calculate the interactions I'm having with you. Oof, it's mentally exhausting to be here. This kind of hypervigilance shows up as ruminating, panic, over-checking. Is something wrong? Did something happen? Should I follow up, even though you just talked about it? Going through all of the last 10 interactions you had with this person, just trying to figure out, okay, so this happened, so maybe I need to figure out that. Maybe if I do this, it's that internal conversations with yourself of, I just need to feel like I know where this is going because maybe I can influence how this turns out. There's no faith because that hasn't been an embodied experience for you. There's no softness into believing like, okay, this is going to be okay. You need to make sure it's okay, right? Which is, of course, an impossibility. And when we talk about the sensations of this particular kind of hypervigilance, we're really zeroing in on the gut. This is the twisted, unsettled sensation of, I don't know what's going to happen. It's sometimes churning, nausea, indigestion, IBS, that nervous stomach feeling that you're carrying around with you often. If you notice that you feel like you have that twist in your gut all the time, that could be that experience. And finally, I'm capable of making someone act how I need them to. That's the final underlying belief. That can show up as interruption, over-explaining, people-pleasing, impulsivity. All of this is coming together in the mantra of, I have to do something to turn this ship around. If I interrupt you, I can bring this conversation to a place where we feel really close or you feel really understood. It's not me trying to be a jerk. It's me making sure that we end up in the right place together. That kind of a compassionate viewpoint of this can be really helpful to see that, okay, yeah, some of these behaviors may be annoying as hell to myself and other people, but we can see where they're coming from and why they're here. When I'm people pleasing, I'm just trying to make sure that they show up for me in the way that I need them to, because maybe if I make it easier to like me, then maybe they can be kinder to me and show up with my needs, etc., etc. Impulsivity. Oh my gosh, in this moment, I just realized what this person wants or needs so that they can show up for me. Boom, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to buy the tickets that they want. I'm just going to book the reservation. I'm just going to show up to the class. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to say no. Kind of people pleasing. Even when I was going through those examples, did you see how fast my voice picked up? I was speaking so much quicker, and that's the energy that comes from it. I have to do something quickly to turn this ship around. So now we can get into the meat. What do we do about this? We see the problem, we see where it comes from, we understand the beliefs that bring in these patterns. We know we want to change these behaviors, but we don't know how. Let's get into some practical ways to offer some shifts. The first one, when we go into this belief and we're operating on the belief that our behavior makes other people act a certain way, right? I'm responsible for how others express their feelings. This is operating from a framework that feelings are consequences. Feelings are consequences, not information. Feelings are things that happen to me. They don't happen for me. It's very disempowering to view feelings as consequences, not to mention inaccurate. When we feel like feelings are a judgment upon us, they are no longer ours and they are no longer useful. Feelings, however, are just information. It is just more information. So we're going to work with this one. I'm responsible for the behavior of others, a little indirectly, by connecting with that foundation, that feelings are consequences when they're not. We're going to shift that to feelings are information. So what does this mean? We're going to practice verbalizing this feeling, blank feeling, means I need or I am blank. So first we'll look at examples where the feeling is a consequence. I'm angry because they cut me off in traffic. That's a consequence. I am angry because they cut me off. Shifting that into information. This anger means I'm in danger. It's very dangerous to be cut off in traffic. This anger means I'm in danger. Let's do another one. Consequence. I'm sad because they canceled on me at the last minute. Information. This sadness means I need company. Consequence. I'm happy because I'm out with my friends. Information. This happiness means I'm connecting with others. When we reframe feelings as information rather than consequences, we gradually decouple ourselves as the cause of other people's behavior. So, this practice, if you feel like you have the capacity, a little bit of space between how you react to things to do this in real time, do it. However, if this is very unfamiliar for you, you can do this practice for just a few minutes, sitting down somewhere quiet, noticing what emotion is present for you, and then using that format. This feeling means I need or I am blank. We're turning feelings into information. Our second exercise, this works with that sense of unpredictability. I need to be able to know enough information early enough to where I can predict the future in this relationship. And the reason that that is such a driving force is because, as we talked about earlier, the stakes were so high as a kid. You had so many needs that needed to be met by this caregiver, and they were important. They were epically important. And you just didn't know if they were going to be met, if this person or people were going to show up for you. So instead of trying to get rid of the search for predictability, because predictability is quite important for us, we're actually going to lower the stakes. We're going to practice helping our nervous systems understand that most of our feelings, most of the situations in our life are quite transient. They're not, um, they're not so high stakes. They're not everything's in the pot. Most of our experiences, most of our feelings, meaning most of the feelings and experiences of others as well, the people we're in relationship with, are transient. They come and they go, they ebb and they flow. The stakes aren't all that high. There are times when the stakes are high, but we're talking about the general chronic sense of hypervigilance that we're working to shift. And we'll do this with a technique called tracking sensations. Our bodies are always bringing up new sensations, evolving sensations, letting go of sensations. We are in constant flux and pulsation of sensations. Most of the time, we're fairly unaware of all the sensations that are changing, unless the sensations are big, unless the stakes are high. We are training with this exercise to come in contact with sensation and experience while the stakes are low, making the drive for predictability less severe so that we can settle out of that hypervigilance. So we'll start this by finding any position. You don't need to be seated, your eyes don't need to be closed. It can be any position. And noticing a sensation in your body. The first version of this exercise, we're going to introduce a change. So let's say that you notice your hands are cold. You may choose to bring them together and notice how now they are warmer. You see, maybe my back feels tired. I'm going to change my posture and notice how now my back feels strong. My feet feel light. I'm going to stomp on the ground. Now they feel heavy. So we're watching the shift of sensations, but we're influencing it as well. Once you've played with that, you may want to try doing what's more commonly known as sitting with sensations. So perhaps you feel steady enough to observe a sensation and just watch it. That's the tracking. Watch it as it evolves on its own, because no sensation actually sticks around all that long. Just by giving it your attention, that sensation is going to change in some way. It may get bigger, make it smaller, might expand or contract. It can move. Practicing this just for a few minutes to start. I'd only start with about 5 minutes if this is a brand new skill for you. You begin to see how transient your experiences are, how much of your experience is a low stakes game. So the search for predictability doesn't need to feel like life and death. This last exercise is going to bring both of those remaining beliefs together. We had I need to calculate everything in our interactions to be safe, and I can make people act a certain way. For this one, we're working with the energy of this. This calculating energy is forward moving. It is you projecting into the future. That's what calculating's for. I'm mapping a route there. I am moving ahead. I am not here, which is survival energy. When you are running from a threat, you run forward. When you are fighting, you strike forward. All of our survival and protection mechanisms happen forward. When we bring our attention to our back body, when we lean back and settle back, that survival energy is kind of pulled in, it's tamed a bit. This exercise, I would like you to lay down when you practice it, if that's possible, and keeping your eyes open so that you stay aware of what's going on around you. And really, it is an exercise of grounding, bringing your awareness to the back of your body. Back body awareness is safety awareness. When we lean back, it's because we feel safe to do so. There's nothing compelling us forward. So while you're laying there, connecting with the parts of your body that feel like they're touching the ground, bringing all of that energy down and back in a stable foundational place. If laying down doesn't work for you, you can sit up and sit against a wall and do the same exercise. All three of these exercises, reframing feelings as information, observing our sensations and how they change, and back body awareness, all three of these are going to be ongoing practices. Nothing in somatic healing is a quick fix because this was never a quick problem. This developed for you over probably decades. And your nervous system has been programmed to use these behaviors, these patterns to keep you safe. It requires training to reprogram itself into keeping you safe in your current situation, which hopefully isn't as threatening. And in many relationships, it certainly isn't as threatening, even if there are some existing relationships that are. We want to give your nervous system places to settle. Remember, the theme is for those who never feel settled. Everyone has places in their life where they should be able to reconnect with that settling in their bodies, with that grounding, with that safety. An inability to do so is what makes us sick, what makes us anxious, what makes life very, very difficult. You likely developed these patterns in a time when they were very useful for you and very helpful for you. So it's going to take time and consistency to gently and compassionately allow them to shift. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it gave you some real tangible things to go forward and try in your own life. Please reach out to me on Instagram at Vibe and Wellness if you have any questions or if you feel like this episode was particularly helpful for you, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening. To get the most from this podcast episode, visit alwaysvibin.com to join the free START program, or search Vibe and Wellness in your Apple or Google Play App Store. The information in this episode is not intended to diagnose or treat any condition. Please contact your mental health practitioner or a medical doctor for advice specific to your needs.